All right, boils and ghouls. So, VHS 85 came out last week, as well as a few other movies. Apologies for not getting any horror content out the last week. Life, busy. So Anthony Jeselnik the other night live. Hysterical. Let's talk horror, man. VHS 85. Firstly, my whole thoughts on the series VHS as a whole. I love the first movie. I always have. Amateur Night with the Siren Girl is still my favorite segment in a VHS film. Although Ratman from 94, man, that comes close. That is a great segment. To Hell and Back by Joseph and Vanessa Winter from the last movie from 99. Love that segment also. And Deadstream, the film that they did last year, the found footage movie, probably the best found footage movie I've seen in years. So we have David Bruckner here, who's started the whole VHS franchise. He directed the sequel to Amateur Night, Siren. If you haven't seen that, it's worth checking it out. It's a whole feature film based off of that segment Amateur Night from the first movie. He just recently did Hellraiser, the remake. I like a lot of stuff David Bruckner has done. Pretty much most of the things I've seen by him. He does the whole wraparound frame narrative segments that's called Total Copy. It's about this slimy kid that people found on like a butte in the desert. And they bring him to this university to study him and to try to communicate with him. And then we see, after each segment, as we get more and more of the story, we see it does not go very well at all for these people trying to work on this guy, Rory. I mean, it's not the best wraparound, but VHS 99, if I remember correctly, it just had the stupid like toys, like in between segments and stuff as the wraparound. So I'll take this any day over VHS 99's wraparound. But here's my thing with this movie. I feel like it's very consistent with the quality of the segments, same as VHS 99. I thought that was probably the most consistent since the second film. VHS Viral, I'm not a fan of. I can't really say that fully yet because I fell asleep 45 minutes into it last year when I did the other ones. So I don't remember, but I just remember the kids being so obnoxious in that film that I just couldn't take it. And yeah, it's a staple of the series of having obnoxious characters, but that just like took it to a whole new level. So I still gotta finish and rewatch Viral. VHS 94, besides the Ratman opener segment, there's some other good stuff, but I wouldn't say it's consistent. This movie, just like VHS 99, I feel like the segments are very consistent in quality. The difference between this and 99 is I think they were consistently pretty good in 99. VHS 85 here, they are consistent. There wasn't one that I like hated, so they were all on the same level pretty much, but that level was not good or great. Most of these segments are very forgettable. Didn't really do much for me. No thoughts really on the one that I just saw. Just, alright, that was cool, let's move on to the next one. So we have the first segment here called No Wake, directed by Mike P. Nelson. I don't know anything else he's directed. Maybe he's an up-and-coming director, but this was actually a weird segment on the first watch because it pretty much just like ends and made me think, is that it? Like that's the whole segment, which made me happy that the fourth segment ties back into this one. Once I saw the fourth one come in and I said, oh, okay, all right, they're linking this to the first one. Okay, good, because this felt very unfinished. But overall, it's decent. We have a group of friends that go to a lake, and they have some warnings beforehand at the very beginning. That's like a sign that says no swimming and stuff. This is very reminiscent of The Raft for me from Creepshow 2. I was thinking that throughout this whole segment. I mean, it's just that it's on a lake and with the sign. That's basically the only reason. But it still reminded me of The Raft, which I adore Creepshow 2, as some of you know. So there are 7 of them in this group, and 2 of them end up staying on the shore while the other 5 end up going on a boat on the lake. And then out of nowhere, they end up getting shot one by one and killed. just from a sniper. Some of the effects look great in here. Like the girl who gets her mouth blown off and it's just like the remnants of her mouth and everything. That looks fantastic. There's some great gore in this movie. Just, I feel not enough to make me want to circle back to it anytime soon. Before they go into the lake, one of the guys finds this dead, gutted squirrel on the ground in the woods. He's just looking at it and filming it. Nobody thinks this is like concerning or anything, that you should probably get out of here, because nothing naturally does that to a fucking squirrel, unless it's like a big ass bear or something, which also, again, concern should be here. I guess not. And then he shows the friend. She's like, I want to see, and he ends up showing the friend, and it disappears. And again, he doesn't think that's weird either. They all get fatally shot on the boat. And again, man, when she gets her jaw blown off, it looks fantastic. It really does. One gets shot in the head. Like, they all get fatal wounds. But they don't die. They end up still being alive. And they get to shore. And then they deduce that it must be the water. And with the sign saying don't swim. So something about this water has some type of magic effect that it allows you to not die. So even though they have these fatal wounds and this bitch's jaw's hanging off, they can't die. So at first they say, like, maybe we're zombies. And she says, well, we're talking. And so that doesn't make any sense. Then it just ends by them saying, did you get on your camera when you were filming? Did you get their the license plate of the truck that pulled up? And says, you want to, like, go after him? He says, I want to do what they did to us. And then it just ends. So when I first saw this, I said, that's it? Like, that's like a pretty weird way to end this segment. But like I said, they end up continuing this in the fourth segment, which was a good move. And I'm sure it was the plan the whole time. But the way they presented it here is like, this is the first segment, and without you thinking they're going to go back to it, because they usually don't ever do that, like between segments, connecting them, especially so heavily. Like, that's like a part two to this first segment. But overall, it's okay. It's intriguing. And like I said, the jaw thing looks fantastic. But besides that, it's forgettable. Like, that's what the problem with most of this movie. It's decent to good, and then you just forget about it. But let's move on to the second one. Side note. Just like in 99, I feel like that handled it even a little more better than this. But both don't handle the time periods too well. It feels very forced. Some of the things they throw in here to make it be 1985, kind of like in the wraparound Total Copy. Right after this first segment, we go back to that wraparound, and we see Rory, the slimy creature, whatever that they're studying, and they're trying to communicate with it. Dr. Spratling is the guy who's in charge of this whole study on him. So they show him TV. They just plop him in front of a TV, and it has like exercise tapes from the 80s playing. Like, it's real on the nose. Like, yeah, I get it, we're in the 80s, but that just felt like shoving it in your face. Like, here's your 85, like, here's your 80s, here's aerobic exercise on the screen. Segment 2, we have directed by Gigi Sol Guerrero, who did that web series La Quinceañera from 2016, 2017, something like that. She does the segment God of Death. Now, this one I feel is only interesting and good because of the ending of this segment. And this is the only good example of this is the 80s, because this is a cool connection. I wouldn't be surprised if they name this 85 just because of this one segment and the way it connects to a real life event. Wouldn't be surprised. I'm sure that wasn't the case, but we end up having this Mexican news crew, and they start doing the news, and then an earthquake happens, and debris starts falling and crushing everybody. Rescue team comes, and they start trying to get the surviving people out. Then they find this tomb or something underneath the building that they're in, where they're trying to get out. And they see all these paintings and stuff to this Aztec god, Mictlan, or Mictlantecuhtli, whatever, something with an M, is this Aztec god. And he ends up possessing two of them. We get some cool heart rip-outs, like two of them in here. Then at the end, they end up saying that this is the day that they had the major earthquake in Mexico in 85. So they're saying that the reason for the earthquake in 85 was the god Mictlan. So it's interesting, but again, is it memorable? Is it good? Not really. But having this Aztec god rising again, I guess is what they're implying, is what caused the major earthquake in Mexico in 85. That's cool. Like, that makes that segment worth it just for that. The third segment, TKNOGD. Now, I don't know if it's technology, no God, or there is no God, or some type of meaning behind the letters, but that's what I take from it. Now that I'm rewatching and thinking of it, this is the low point, for sure. Which is strange, because isn't it the third segment in VHS 99 with the kid reality show and the game show that they're on, and then they end up torturing the game show host? That's the worst segment for me in VHS 99. So kind of funny how both of these are the third, and they're my least favorite in the respective movies. But we have this performance artist who ends up getting on stage and starts saying that we killed God, and that technology is the new God. And she shows this video demonstration of this guy putting on a glove and headset that makes him be able to both be in like the digital world and in our physical plane at the same time. That like you can pick up a cup in the digital world by wearing these gloves and headset, that you can actually feel it and pick it up and stuff. So it's playing on all AI and technology. And then this creature appears and just murders her on stage in front of all these people. And then they think it's part of the show and they just start clapping and stuff. And it ends. Like, that's it. Like, that's this whole segment. It's just this bitch talking on stage, and then she gets murdered. The murder part's cool. As a whole, though, this is not good. This is the low point, for sure, for me, of this whole movie. Then we go back to Slimy Rory and the whole wraparound thing, and he sprouts a tentacle. And these doctors and stuff, at this moment, don't say, fuck this, it's time to get out of here. I don't know about all that. The fourth segment, also directed by Mike P. Nelson, who did the first segment, and this is why they connect, called Ambrosia. Now, we see this family get together, and cool little reference to what I was just talking about, the web series, La Quinceañera, when she says in the beginning here that some families celebrate with bar mitzvahs, birthdays, quinceañeras, so they made a nice little reference to the show that Guerrera directed. She did the second segment here. That's cool. So the way that this family celebrates milestones is by killing off 7 motherfuckers at once in some creative way. So we have this girl, Ruth, who shows a videotape to the family of her 7 killing. And it ends up being a tape of the events of the first segment. And we see her shooting the 2 people who stayed behind, dead. She's like gloating in front of the camera and shit afterwards. And then we see her shooting onto the lake at the people that were on the boat. Then the police come by the house and they break in there and they start killing everybody. So now this girl, Ruth, they have this pact, this family, that like one day this is going to happen. It's inevitable. The police are going to come, die by the family, and take out as many cops as you can. So they just start shooting cops. They're all getting killed, and then Ruth gets shot. You think she's dead, then she reanimates, and she's back to life. Then they're searching the house, trying to find any survivors. She tries shooting herself in the head. She wakes right back up. Then we get to reveal the people on the lake from the first segment that Ruth killed filled up a water gun, squirt gun, with the water from the miraculous healing lake, gave it to this boy that shot her with this water. So now she can't die, and she ends up getting taken to prison. I mean, it's a cool, fitting end for her. She killed these 7 people, now she can't die, and now she has to go to prison. But I mean, aren't like paramedics and stuff gonna say, how the hell are you alive? There's like a bullet through your head? Back to Slimy Rory. Now he's starting to mimic people, to just turn into one of the doctors and stuff, so he's a shapeshifter. And again, these people are just like willy-nilly, this is all cool, right? They don't take any precautions. The fifth and final segment, Dream Kill by Scott Derrickson, who directed Sinister, The Black Phone, movies I'm not a huge fan of. But surprisingly, this is probably my favorite one in this whole movie. So we have this detective who ends up responding to a murder, and some of the murders are pretty brutal in this, which is good. Then he realizes that this looks very similar to a videotape that was mailed to the police department like a week earlier. So he starts looking into it. They end up getting a second tape that pretty much predicts a second murder before it happens. And then they put a surveillance on the mailbox that these tapes were being sent from, and they find this kid Gunther. Which, looking at this kid in any other situation, this kid's the fucking murderer, right? But apparently Gunther has a family trait that other family members of his has had in the past. I think his mother was one of them. That he has these psychic dreams that then they come true afterwards. So his father knows about this. He's in the police station with the detective, both questioning, Gunther, his son. And he starts telling the detective about this, saying, I know what he's talking about. Like, I'm pretty sure it's his wife, right? Gunther's mom, who was this like? It doesn't matter. But he starts explaining that other people in the family have said that they had this ability. And then ultimately, in the end, we find out that it's Gunther's father who's killing these women. And there's a whole motive and stuff. Who knows what the fuck that is? He kills a few cops in the department trying to get out, and his son Gunther ends up killing him. So, I mean, it's good. But again, it's not great or anything, like compared to some of the real great segments in this franchise. Even though it's the best one, I think, out of all the segments in this movie, it's still not great that, like, I'd be yearning to see it again, you know what I mean? Then we got the ending of the Rory epic tale, and he basically just sprouts more tentacles, kills everybody in this university that they're studying him. The doctor's trying to use his fingerprint or handprint reader to open the door, and it's full of blood, so he can't open it. It's not working. He gets killed. Another guy gets dragged into the room with Rory. Then he starts like posing the bodies and stuff, like the exercise video that he's been watching this whole time. This is why you don't show people aerobic exercise videos from the 80s. And that's it. That's the end of the movie. So overall, it's a fun watch, VHS 85. I don't think it's a high point in the series at all. If anything, this is a big drop from 99. But it's worth a watch, if you're a VHS fan especially. I know people are giving mixed reviews and mixed thoughts about this movie. Some think it's pretty good. Some don't like it one bit. I'm in the middle of the road here. It's a good watch. I'll probably never watch it again. Like, unless I'm doing like a VHS marathon or something, which I've never done in my life. And I don't see it starting anytime soon. But alright guys, that's VHS 85. We got No One Will Save Us. We have Pet Sematary Bloodlines and like 2 other surprise ones. So I'm going to be recording all weekend. But I hope everyone had a great Friday the 13th. Happy Saturday the 14th, which is a shitty ass movie. Wherever you're from, I hope you are enjoying your morning, afternoon, or night. And I will talk to you all soon. Take care, guys.